The ship appeared without warning above Earth's blue skies. It was massive, bigger than any city on the planet below. Its surface gleamed like polished silver, covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and dance in the sunlight. People stopped on streets to point up at it. Cars pulled over. Children pressed their faces against windows. Ambassador Zethkar stood on the bridge of the ship, looking down at the small blue world. The ambassador was tall, made of what looked like living crystal. Light passed through the transparent body, creating rainbow patterns on the floor. When Zethkar spoke, the voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Begin transmission to all communication networks on the planet. Zethkar commanded. The message went out in every language Earth had ever spoken. Television screens flickered. Radio waves carried the words. Internet connections buzzed with the alien announcement. Even old emergency broadcast systems crackled to life. People of Earth, the message began. I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Galactic Confederation. We represent 1,000 civilized worlds across this galaxy. For too long, we have watched your species with growing concern. In the White House, President Martinez sat frozen at her desk. The message continued to play on every screen around her. Secret Service agents stood motionless, unsure what to do about a threat from space. Your kind spreads through space without permission. You fight endless wars on your world. You show no respect for peaceful species. You are dangerous and unpredictable. The Confederation has decided that humanity can no longer be allowed to exist as a free species. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in a deep underground bunker called NORAD. The facility was built inside a mountain in Colorado. She listened to the alien words while watching screens that showed the huge ship hanging in space. Her staff officers waited for orders, expecting panic or emergency protocols. Instead, Admiral Chen smiled. You have 30 of your solar cycles to make a choice. Zethkar continued. Submit to Confederation rule and your species will be allowed to live under our guidance. Refuse and your world will be cleansed of human life. We will give your planet to a more worthy species. The message ended. Silence filled every room where humans had heard the ultimatum. Then chaos began. News anchors struggled to find words. Governments called emergency meetings. Military bases went to high alert. People flooded grocery stores and gas stations. Some prayed, others cried. Many stood in their yards, staring up at the alien ship that hung like a sword over their world. But in certain places around Earth, the reaction was different. In a submarine hidden beneath Arctic ice, Captain Rodriguez read the message on his screen and chuckled. He turned to his crew and said, Well, boys, looks like Christmas came early this year. At a secret base in the Australian desert, General Thompson watched the alien broadcast and cracked her knuckles. Finally, she muttered. I was getting bored. In space stations that the public thought were just for science, astronauts looked at each other and grinned. They had been waiting for this day for 50 years. Back in NORAD, Admiral Chen's smile grew wider as she read reports coming in from around the world. Every hidden facility was sending the same message, ready and waiting. Ma'am, said her aide, Colonel Harrison, the President is calling for an emergency meeting. She wants to know our defense options. Admiral Chen stood up from her chair. She walked to a large screen that showed the alien ship. It looked so powerful, so advanced, so threatening. The weapons readings they were getting from it suggested technology far beyond anything humanity was supposed to have. Tell the President we'll be ready to present our options in 6 hours, Admiral Chen said. And Colonel? Yes, ma'am? Send out Alert Code 7 to all deep space monitoring stations. Colonel Harrison's eyes widened. Alert Code 7 hadn't been used since the system was created. It meant one thing. The long wait was over. Around the world, hidden computers received the code. In facilities that didn't appear on any map, lights began to flash. Weapons that had never been tested outside of simulations started their warm-up cycles. Communication arrays that had been disguised as cell phone towers began sending coded messages to places the public didn't know existed. On the alien ship, Zethkar watched Earth through advanced sensors. The readings showed exactly what the Confederation expected, a primitive world with basic technology. The humans had some atomic weapons, chemical rockets, and simple space stations. Their military forces were scattered and weak. Their governments were arguing instead of uniting. It would be an easy conquest if they chose to resist. Ambassador, said Fleet Commander Vextai, a creature that looked like a giant insect with metal wings. Should we begin positioning the fleet for the cleansing operation? Not yet, Zethkar replied. Let them have their 30 cycles to consider. Perhaps they will be wise enough to surrender. It would be less wasteful, the crystal being turned away from the screen showing Earth. Zethkar had done this many times before. Primitive species always reacted the same way. Fear, panic, desperate attempts to fight with inadequate weapons. It was almost sad how predictable they were. But if Zethkar had looked more carefully at the sensor readings, the ambassador might have noticed something strange. The radio signals coming from Earth weren't just panicked communications between governments. Mixed in with the chaos were other signals, coded and directed to very specific locations. Deep in space, beyond where the alien sensors were looking, these signals reached listening posts that had been waiting in the cold and dark for decades. Ancient satellites that looked like space junk received the messages and began broadcasting their own signals. On Earth, Admiral Chen walked through the halls of NORAD. Personnel snapped to attention as she passed. She could see the excitement in their eyes, barely controlled behind professional masks. They had trained for this their entire careers. They had built for this. They had prepared for this. Admiral, called out Dr. Sarah Kim from the research division. The artifact analysis teams are reporting completion of all projects. We're ready to implement, Admiral Chen nodded. The artifacts had been humanity's greatest secret for half a century. Pieces of alien technology found in various crashes and encounters that the public never learned about. Human scientists had spent decades reverse engineering them, improving them, and building weapons the Confederation never imagined possible. What about Project Deep Strike? Admiral Chen asked. All platforms are operational and in position, Dr. Kim replied. The aliens have no idea we have assets in the outer system. Admiral Chen felt the same grin spread across her face again. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. Every space mission had a hidden purpose. Every international cooperation project had a secret military component. Every technological advancement had been aimed at one goal: being ready when the galaxy finally noticed Earth. The Confederation thought they were dealing with a primitive, divided species. They would learn the truth soon enough. Humanity had been waiting for a worthy enemy, and now, finally, one had arrived. 24 hours after the alien ultimatum, Earth looked like a world in panic. News channels showed long lines at stores, traffic jams as people fled cities, and protesters demanding the government surrender to save human lives. The stock market crashed. Airlines canceled flights. Some countries declared martial law. But beneath the surface chaos, something else was happening. In hidden bunkers around the world, blast doors that hadn't opened in decades began to slide apart. Inside these secret facilities, machines hummed to life. Computers that had been running background programs for 50 years suddenly switched to active mode. Admiral Chen stood in the main command center of NORAD, watching screens that showed the true state of human preparedness. The public saw panic and confusion. She saw the most coordinated military operation in human history beginning to unfold. Report from Deep Space Monitoring Station 7, announced Lieutenant Torres. The alien fleet is holding position beyond Pluto. They're scanning the inner system but haven't detected our outer perimeter assets. Admiral Chen nodded. The aliens were being careful, studying Earth's defenses before making their move. Their scans would show exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a few space stations, some satellites, and the beginnings of a lunar base. All primitive technology by galactic standards. They wouldn't see the real defenses. What's the status on the asteroid belt installations? Admiral Chen asked. All 37 mining platforms report ready, replied Major Jackson from the weapons control station. The aliens are reading them as industrial facilities just like we planned. Admiral Chen allowed herself another small smile. For 40 years, human mining operations in the asteroid belt had been hollowing out space rocks and filling them with weapons. Each asteroid now contained enough firepower to destroy a city. The alien sensors saw mining equipment and shipping containers. They had no idea they were looking at the largest weapons platform ever built. "Ma'am," called out Dr. Kim from her science station, "I'm getting interesting readings from the alien ship. Their technology is advanced, but not as advanced as we feared." "Explain," Admiral Chen said. "Their energy signatures match theoretical models we developed from the artifacts. Our weapons should be effective against their shields and hull materials." Admiral Chen felt the excitement building in the room. Her staff had trained for this moment their entire careers. They knew the plan by heart. Every scenario had been war-gamed thousands of times. Across the globe, similar scenes played out in dozens of hidden command centers. In a facility buried beneath the Swiss Alps, General Miller watched his screens show activation signals from weapons platforms throughout the solar system. Each platform had been disguised as something harmless: communication satellites, weather monitoring stations, or scientific research equipment. In reality, they were the most sophisticated weapons humanity had ever built. "The orbital defense grid is fully active," reported his aide, Colonel Schmidt. "All platforms are showing green across the board." "Excellent," General Muller replied. "And the lunar installations?" "The moon bases are ready for operation. The aliens think we have one small research station there. They don't know about the 300 missile silos we built into the far side." Meanwhile, in a submarine command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Yamamoto reviewed the status of humanity's space fleet. The alien sensors detected a few crude spacecraft around Earth and Mars. They couldn't see the ships hiding in the shadows of moons and asteroids throughout the solar system. "All stealth vessels report ready," her communications officer announced. "The enemy has no idea we have a real space navy." Admiral Yamamoto looked at the tactical display showing the positions of 67 human warships. Each one had been built in secret, using technology reverse-engineered from alien artifacts. They were designed to fight a war the galaxy didn't think humans could wage. Back on the alien command ship, Ambassador Zethkar studied the reports from the scanning teams. Everything looked exactly as expected. Earth showed the standard development pattern of a species that had barely achieved spaceflight. Their largest weapon systems appeared to be chemical-based missiles with primitive nuclear warheads, reported Science Officer Dalton, a creature that looked like a walking tree with glowing fruit for eyes. "Their space presence is minimal. A few research stations and basic satellites. No sign of advanced technology?" Zethkar asked. "None that our sensors can detect. They appear to be several centuries behind Confederation standards." Fleet Commander Vextai clicked his metal wings together in what passed for laughter among his species. "This will hardly be worthy of being called a battle. Perhaps we should simply send a single ship to deal with them." Zethkar considered this. The Confederation had expected more resistance from a species that had shown such aggressive tendencies. But the sensor readings were clear. Humanity posed no real threat to ships that could travel between stars. "We will proceed with the original plan," Zethkar decided, "but reduce the fleet size by half. No need to waste resources on such primitive opposition." If the aliens had looked more carefully at their long-range sensors, they might have noticed some odd readings from the asteroid belt, energy signatures that didn't quite match standard mining operations, gravitational anomalies that suggested much more mass than visible objects should have. But they didn't look carefully. Their technology was superior, their experience vast, and their confidence complete. On Earth, Admiral Chen received reports that made her grin even wider. "The aliens are pulling back half their fleet," Lieutenant Torres announced. "They're treating us as a minor threat." "Perfect," Admiral Chen replied. "Overconfidence has destroyed more armies than superior firepower." She walked to the main display screen and activated a communication channel that reached every hidden military facility on Earth and throughout the solar system. "Attention all stations," Admiral Chen announced. "This is Operation Destiny calling. We have waited 50 years for this moment. Our enemy thinks we are primitives armed with sticks and stones. Let's show them what humans really bring to a fight." Around the solar system, weapon systems that had been hidden for decades began their final preparations. In asteroid belt installations, fusion reactors reached full power. On the hidden side of the moon, missile silos opened like hungry mouths. Throughout space, human warships began moving into attack positions, their stealth systems keeping them invisible to alien sensors. The Confederation had announced war on what they thought was a primitive species. They were about to discover they had declared war on the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen, and the predators were smiling. 30 days passed like a countdown to destiny. The alien deadline arrived with Earth apparently still divided and helpless. World leaders gave speeches about protecting humanity's future. Peace protesters filled the streets. Religious groups held prayer vigils. The planet looked exactly like a species facing extinction should look. Ambassador Zethkar stood on the bridge of the command ship, watching Earth through the viewing screen. No message of surrender had come from the planet below. The humans had chosen destruction over submission. Very well, Zethkar announced to the assembled fleet commanders. Begin the demonstration. Destroy their largest space installation. The aliens had identified the International Space Station as humanity's most important orbital facility. It was old and primitive, but clearly significant to the humans based on communication intercepts. Destroying it would show Earth what resistance would cost them. Fleet Commander Vextai selected a single destroyer for the task. The ship was small by Confederation standards, but its main weapon could vaporize an entire city. One focused plasma blast would turn the space station into expanding gas and metal fragments. Target acquired, announced the destroyer's weapons officer through the communication channel, charging main plasma cannon. On Earth in the NORAD command center, Admiral Chen watched the alien ship approach the ISS. Every screen in the facility showed the same image, a sleek alien vessel moving in for what should be an easy kill. Range? Admiral Chen asked calmly. Enemy vessel now within optimal engagement distance, Lieutenant Torres replied. ISS, you are clear to activate. Admiral Chen spoke into her communication headset. In space, the International Space Station looked exactly as it had for decades. Solar panels spread like wings, modules connected in the familiar configuration that had housed astronauts for generations. To alien sensors, it appeared completely defenseless. The destroyer fired. A brilliant beam of superheated plasma raced across space toward the station. The beam contained enough energy to destroy any primitive structure. The aliens expected to see the station vanish in a flash of vaporized metal. Instead, something impossible happened. The space station changed. Panels slid apart with mechanical precision. Hidden sections telescoped outward. What had appeared to be solar arrays folded back to reveal weapons ports. In less than 3 seconds, the International Space Station transformed from a research facility into something that looked like a mechanical flower of death. The plasma beam struck the station's shields and simply disappeared. Advanced energy absorbers, built with technology reverse-engineered from alien artifacts, drank in the attack and redirected it through power conduits throughout the station. Then the station fired back. The return blast wasn't plasma. It was something new. Something human engineers had developed specifically for this moment. A focused beam of exotic matter that punched through the destroyers. Shields like they were made of paper. The alien ship lasted exactly 1.3 seconds before it exploded in a brilliant fireball that lit up space for thousands of kilometers. On the command ship, every alien on the bridge stood in stunned silence. Their instruments had recorded everything, but their minds struggled to process what they had seen. How? Whispered Science Officer Dalton. Our scans showed primitive technology. Zethkar's crystal form began to glow with stress patterns. Run a full spectrum analysis of that station. Now. But before the scientists could complete their scans, more impossible things began happening throughout the solar system. Asteroids started moving. Not drifting in their orbits, but actively maneuvering with purpose. As they turned to face the alien fleet, the asteroids revealed themselves as massive weapons platforms. Each one bristled with gun ports and missile tubes. Admiral, called out Major Jackson from his station in NORAD. All asteroid platforms report target lock on the alien fleet. Admiral Chen nodded. Fire! Across the asteroid belt, 37 hidden bases opened fire simultaneously. Missiles streaked toward the alien ships, followed by energy beams and kinetic projectiles. Each asteroid unleashed enough firepower to level a continent. The aliens tried to return fire, but their targets kept moving. The asteroids didn't follow any predictable pattern. They spun, rolled, and dodged like living things. Human pilots, hidden inside shielded command centers, flew the massive rocks like fighters. This is impossible. Fleet Commander Vextai buzzed through his metal wings. Primitive species don't have this technology. But the surprises weren't finished. From the far side of the moon, 300 missile launch tubes opened fire. The missiles were different from anything in human history. They moved faster than anything the aliens had seen, guided by artificial intelligence systems that learned and adapted during flight. Sir, reported the alien fleet's sensor operator, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's moon. It appears to be heavily fortified. Ambassador Zethkar felt something the ambassador had never experienced before. Fear. Full scan of the entire solar system. Find everything. The results of the scan shattered every assumption the Confederation had made about humanity. Hidden throughout the solar system were hundreds of installations the aliens had missed. What they had taken for communication satellites were revealed as weapons platforms. Spacecraft they had dismissed as primitive research vessels decloaked to reveal advanced warships. Mining operations showed their true nature as forward military bases. "Admiral," Dr. Kim announced in NORAD, "Alien command ship is conducting deep scans of our positions. They're seeing everything now." Admiral Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Good. Let them see what humans actually build when we put our minds to it. The truth was becoming clear to the alien fleet. Every human space mission for the past 50 years had been part of a massive military construction project. Every international cooperation had been cover for weapons development. Every scientific advance had been aimed at preparing for this exact moment. Humanity hadn't just reached space. They had militarized their entire solar system. "Fleet status report," Zethkar demanded. "We've lost 12 ships," Vextai replied, his voice shaking. "The humans have weapons we don't understand. Their tactical patterns make no sense. They're not fighting like any civilized species." On the tactical display, human ships were doing things that violated every rule of space combat. They used asteroids as cover, rammed enemy vessels, and employed weapons that seemed to bend physics. Worse, their communication intercepts revealed human pilots laughing during the battle. They were enjoying this. "Sir," the sensor operator called out in panic, "I'm detecting more human ships decloaking throughout the system. Estimates now show over 60 combat vessels." Ambassador Zethkar stared at the tactical display. The Confederation fleet, which had seemed overwhelmingly superior an hour ago, was now outnumbered and outgunned by a species they had dismissed as primitive. But the final shock was yet to come. From Earth itself, new contacts began appearing on the alien sensors. Massive objects were rising from the planet's surface, moving up through the atmosphere with impossible speed. As they cleared the sky, the objects revealed themselves as orbital battle stations, each one larger than the Confederation's largest ships. "How many weapons platforms do they have?" Vextai whispered. Dr. Kim smiled as she answered Admiral Chen's question about orbital defense status. "All 12 primary battle stations are now in position around Earth. The aliens are completely surrounded." Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. When she spoke, her voice was calm and friendly. "Attention, Confederation vessels. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. You wanted to see how humans handle ultimatums. Now you know." What followed wasn't war in any sense the Confederation understood. It was something far worse. It was a hunt. Admiral Chen had given the alien fleet one chance to surrender after their weapons platforms revealed themselves. Ambassador Zethkar, still believing in Confederation superiority despite the evidence, had refused. The crystal being had called humans barbaric primitives and promised that reinforcements would cleanse this system of human filth. That had been a mistake. All ships. Admiral Chen broadcast to the human fleet scattered throughout the solar system. "The aliens want to play. Let's show them how humans play." The response came back from dozens of ship captains, their voices filled with an emotion that chilled the alien communications officers who intercepted the transmissions. Joy. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the stealth destroyer Vengeance from an asteroid field near Jupiter, spoke for all of them. "Admiral, we've been waiting our whole lives for this. Time to hunt." The Confederation fleet tried to maintain formation and fight according to their military doctrine. Thousands of years of galactic warfare had taught them the proper way to engage an enemy. Organized battle lines, concentrated firepower, predictable maneuvers that maximize the efficiency of their superior technology. The humans ignored every rule. Instead of facing the aliens in direct combat, human ships began stalking them. They hid behind moons, inside asteroid fields, and in the shadows of planets. When they attacked, it was from impossible angles and unexpected directions. Captain Sarah Martinez, piloting the frigate Hunter's Moon, exemplified the human approach. She had been trailing a Confederation cruiser for 6 hours, staying just outside sensor range by hiding in the debris field of a destroyed alien escort. "Target is maintaining course toward Mars," her sensor officer reported. "Still no indication they've detected us." Captain Martinez smiled. The alien ship was 3 times the size of her frigate and carried enough firepower to destroy a small city. By all logical standards, she should avoid a direct confrontation. But logic had never been humanity's strongest trait. "Bring us in close," she ordered. "I want to ram them, ma'am," her weapons officer questioned. "You heard me. Full speed right into their engine section, but wait until the last second and then punch out in the escape pods." The alien cruiser never saw the attack coming. One moment they were scanning space for human vessels. The next moment a human ship appeared from the asteroid debris and slammed into their rear section at nearly the speed of light. The impact destroyed both ships, but the human crew had already evacuated in armored escape pods. The aliens died never understanding why someone would sacrifice a perfectly good warship just to take out one enemy vessel. Was a pattern repeated throughout the solar system. Human tactics made no sense to species that had spent millennia perfecting the art of civilized warfare. Humans used their own ships as weapons. They rammed. They self-destructed. They used debris fields as ammunition and turned asteroid chunks into guided missiles. Fleet Commander Vextai watched his tactical display with growing horror as Confederation ships disappeared one by one. Each loss came from a different impossible attack. Humans emerging from gas giant atmospheres, ships hiding inside the coronas of stars, weapons that fired chunks of moon rock at velocities that turned them into planet killers. "They're insane," he buzzed to Ambassador Zethkar. "No civilized species fights like this." But the worst part wasn't the tactics. It was the attitude. Human communication intercepts revealed pilots making jokes during combat, ship captains placing bets on who could destroy more enemy vessels, ground control operators treating the entire battle like a sporting event. Lieutenant Commander Jake Thompson, flying a fighter called the Grim Reaper, perfectly captured the human mindset when his transmission was intercepted by alien signals intelligence. "Yahoo! Did you see that one explode? That's my 5th kill today. I'm going for the high score." His wingman, Captain Lisa Park, responded with laughter. "Keep dreaming, Thompson. I'm already at 7. But that last one was beautiful. Right through their shield generators. The aliens couldn't comprehend it. These humans were treating the destruction of advanced spacecraft like a game. They were enjoying the slaughter. Ambassador Zethkar tried to restore order to the fleet. "All ships fall back to defensive formation Sigma 7. Concentrate firepower on priority targets." But every time the Confederation tried to group their ships, human vessels appeared like ghosts and tore them apart. The humans seemed to know exactly where the aliens would be and how they would respond. In truth, human intelligence officers had been studying Confederation tactics for 50 years. Every piece of alien technology they had recovered came with technical manuals. Every crashed ship provided tactical data. Humanity had learned to fight by studying their enemies' methods and then doing the exact opposite. Dr. Kim watched the battle from NORAD with professional fascination. "Their response patterns are exactly as predicted," she reported to Admiral Chen. "They're following Confederation Standard Tactical Manual, Section 12, almost perfectly." "Of course they are," Admiral Chen replied. "It's all they know. Send the new targeting data to Captain Williams. His squadron has been waiting for the aliens to try Formation Sigma 7. Captain Williams received the data as his stealth squadron prepared to spring their trap. The aliens were grouping their remaining ships into a defensive sphere, exactly as human intelligence had predicted they would. "All ships, this is Reaper Leader," Williams broadcast. "Target package is getting into position. Remember, we want to take them apart piece by piece. Make it last." The human ships struck from 6 different directions simultaneously, but instead of trying to destroy the alien formation quickly, they picked it apart systematically. They disabled engines first, leaving ships helpless. Then they destroyed weapon systems, making the aliens defenseless. Finally, they methodically demolished each vessel while the crew watched helplessly. It was psychological warfare as much as physical destruction. The surviving alien crews began to crack under the pressure, their communications filled with panic calls and desperate requests for reinforcement. Some ships broke formation and tried to flee, only to run into human vessels that had been waiting in ambush. "Fleet Commander," called the sensor operator on the command ship, his voice shaking. "We're down to 23 ships. The humans have lost only 6 vessels, and 3 of those were suicide attacks." Vextai stared at the tactical display. In 6 hours of combat, the Confederation had gone from a superior force to scattered survivors, and the humans were still hunting. "Sir," the communications officer added, "I'm intercepting human transmissions. They're keeping score." Individual pilots are competing to see who can destroy the most ships. Ambassador Zethkar felt the crystal structure of the ambassador's body begin to crack under stress. This wasn't how civilized warfare was supposed to work. Advanced species fought with honor, dignity, and respect for the fallen. These humans fought like predators who had cornered their prey and were taking their time killing it. All ships, Zethkar broadcast. Prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. We're retreating. But even retreat wouldn't be simple. Human ships had positioned themselves around every possible escape route. As the alien vessels tried to flee, they found human hunters waiting for them. The chase began. 6 months after the Confederation's ultimatum, the galaxy was a very different place. Ambassador Zethkar sat in a simple chair in what had once been the Confederation's greatest military academy on the world of Kepler Prime. Now it was a refugee center for displaced alien officials. The crystal being's body was cracked in dozens of places, stress fractures that would never fully heal. Through the window, Zethkar could see human construction crews working alongside alien engineers. They were building defensive platforms around the planet, part of something humans called a protection zone. The ambassador had learned not to ask what they were being protected from. Everyone knew the answer: other humans. The defeat at Earth had shattered more than just the Confederation fleet. It had broken the entire galactic order. News of humanity's military capabilities had spread through hyperspace communications faster than the surviving ships could flee. The galaxy learned that Earth hadn't just survived the Confederation's ultimatum. They had turned it into the most one-sided military victory in recorded history. Of the 50 Confederation vessels that had approached Earth, exactly 7 had escaped to tell the tale. The rest had been destroyed, captured, or had simply vanished into the vast human hunting ground that the Sol system had become. But humanity's response to victory had been even more shocking than their military performance. They hadn't pursued the fleeing ships. They hadn't demanded tribute or territory. Instead, they had done something that terrified the galaxy more than any display of weapons. They had started talking. President Martinez stood before the Galactic Assembly on New Geneva Station, speaking to representatives of 1,000 worlds. The human leader smiled with the same confidence that Admiral Chen had shown during the battle. Fellow sapient beings, President Martinez began, humanity doesn't want conquest. We want cooperation. The old Confederation tried to rule through fear and force. We offer something better: partnership. The assembled aliens listened with a mixture of fascination and terror. This small, unimpressive human was speaking to them as equals, even though her species had just demonstrated the ability to destroy any military force in the galaxy. We know you're afraid of us, President Martinez continued. We understand why. But consider this. Humanity has the power to take whatever we want from any world in this galaxy. Instead, we're offering you trade agreements, technology sharing, and mutual defense pacts. In the audience, Ambassador Yeldara of the Vegan Republic raised a tentacle. What do you want in return? President Martinez's smile grew wider. Respect, friendship, and the chance to fight alongside you when something truly dangerous threatens any of us. The offer was simple and terrifying. Join humanity's protection, or face the galaxy alone. World after world chose protection. The Centauri colony. Worlds were first, signing a mutual defense treaty within days of the battle at Earth. The Rigel Mining Consortium followed a week later. By the end of the first month, over 100 systems had requested admission to what humans were calling the Terran Protection Zone. Each new member brought the same benefits: human technology, human protection, and access to the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. In return, they agreed to human leadership in military matters and accepted human advisors for planetary defense. It was conquest by choice rather than force, and it was working better than any military campaign. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the TDF Unity. The vessel was massive, larger than any Confederation dreadnought, built in the orbital shipyards that now surrounded Earth. Through the viewports, she could see the construction of a dozen more ships just like it. Admiral, reported Captain Morrison, the ship's commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Sirius Defense Fleet. They're requesting assistance with a pirate problem. Admiral Chen nodded. It was the third such request this week. Human fleets were becoming the galaxy's police force, hunting down raiders and pirates with the same efficiency they had shown against the Confederation. "Tell Admiral Santos to take the Fifth Fleet," she ordered. "Standard anti-piracy protocols. Try to take prisoners for questioning." It was a far cry from the desperate last stand against alien invasion that humanity had prepared for. Instead of fighting for survival, human forces were now the most respected military power in the galaxy. The psychological impact of Earth's victory continued to reshape galactic politics. Species that had served the Confederation for millennia were declaring independence and requesting human protection. The old order was crumbling as worlds chose freedom under human guidance over oppression, under alien rule. But perhaps the most significant change was happening on Earth itself. Dr. Kim stood in the new Galactic Relations Office in Geneva, reviewing reports from across human space. The building had been constructed in just 3 months using a combination of human engineering and alien technology provided by grateful allied worlds. "Status report on the integration programs?" she asked her assistant, a young officer named Lieutenant Park. "Better than expected," Lieutenant Park replied. "We now have permanent human advisors on 47 worlds. The cultural exchange programs are exceeding all projections. And the technology transfer initiatives are producing breakthrough developments every month." Dr. Kim smiled. Humanity's greatest victory wasn't military. It was diplomatic. By treating other species as partners rather than subjects, humans had achieved something the Confederation never could: genuine cooperation. On worlds throughout the galaxy, human engineers worked alongside alien scientists to solve problems that had plagued their civilizations for centuries. Human doctors shared medical knowledge that saved millions of lives. Human teachers established schools that educated young aliens in subjects their own worlds couldn't provide. And on every world, human military officers trained local defense forces to fight with the same effectiveness that had destroyed the Confederation fleet. Ambassador Zethkar received a visitor that afternoon. A human diplomat named Ambassador Thompson, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a patient smile. "How are you adjusting to the new arrangements?" Thompson asked, settling into a chair across from the crystal being. Zethkar's body shifted colors, indicating confusion. "I don't understand your species. You have the power to enslave every world in the galaxy. Instead, you build schools and hospitals." Ambassador Thompson chuckled. "That's the difference between us and the Confederation. You ruled through fear. We prefer to lead through example." "But why?" Zethkar asked. "Your military could crush any resistance." "Because fear only works until someone stronger comes along," Thompson explained. "Friendship lasts forever. Besides, humans fight better when we're protecting something we care about rather than oppressing something we fear." The crystal being considered this. In the months since the battle at Earth, Zethkar had watched human behavior with growing amazement. These creatures who had fought like savage predators in space showed infinite patience when teaching alien children. The same species that had turned war into a game treated peace like a sacred duty. "There's something else," Ambassador Thompson continued. "We'd like to offer you a position in the new Galactic Council. Your experience with Confederation politics could be valuable in helping other species transition to independence." Zethkar's body flashed with surprise. "You want me to help govern the galaxy?" "We want everyone to help govern the galaxy," Thompson replied. "Humans don't want to rule. We want to protect." There's a difference. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on 1,000 worlds. Former Confederation officials were being offered positions in the new order. Ex-military officers were invited to join human training programs. Scientists and engineers found themselves working on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. The galaxy was learning something new. Cooperation was more powerful than conquest. In the depths of space, human fleets patrolled trade routes that had been plagued by pirates for centuries. On colony worlds, human-trained defense forces stood ready to protect their homes from any threat. In laboratories and research stations, human and alien scientists worked together to push the boundaries of knowledge. And on Earth, in the office where it had all began, Admiral Chen looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity had waited 50 years for a worthy enemy to test themselves against. They had found something better, worthy friends to stand beside. The Confederation had announced war on a species they thought was primitive and weak. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest strength, the ability to turn enemies into allies and transform conflict into cooperation. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity couldn't be happier about it.